everyone, to our Groundskeeper Chat series. I'm your host, Meg Kruger, and I'm coming live to you from Columbus, Ohio at the Ohio Turfgrass Conference. I am joined by the president.
Oh. ...
Mr. Ryan Margraf. Did I say it correct?
You did.
And he is with the Motz Group, but he's also the president of OTF. So what better way to start, our live series than with, the man, the myth, the legend?
Oh, geez. I think you're referring to a different Ryan. And that's been, that's funny being a part of the OTF conference in the foundation. And it's, which Ryan are you talking about? Ryan Margraf or Ryan DeMay?
Yes.
He's definitely a legend. So, yeah.
Well, good company to keep, for sure. And this is your first time on the Groundskeeper Chat series.
It is.
Really our first time formally, meeting in a sense that isn't, just two ships in the night at a trade show. So we always start off our, series by asking what your turf origin story is. How did this, come on your radar? And then more importantly, what was it that was like, oh, I could stay here. I can make a career out of this.
Yeah, I definitely have a unique path, I believe. And I'll try to not make it too overdone. But I actually started out my work career, if you will, as a youngin, and I was mowing lawns in the town I grew up in, so a real small town, and liked. And on top of my summer job, I would go and do some mowing of some lawns and do some landscape work for individuals in the community. So I had that, and then I also had in high school I was on the golf team.
Okay.
And so I was like, okay, this is interesting. But at the same time, I had, truth be told, I had this interest in design and creating spaces because I was part of that landscape side of it too.
Very cool.
So I said, okay, well, this landscape architecture thing sounds interesting. So that was actually my initial path, and the only place I could do that in state was Ohio State University. Okay. And so I started out there, and it was good. It was a good experience, and then had a situation where I needed to go back home. Okay. So moved back home, and I'm like, okay, I was doing this that's freshman doing this landscape thing, and I'm like, okay, well, Bowling Green State University is the closest thing that I have there. So I go there and they have this architecture program. Okay, well, I can do that. All right, sure. And then I'm like, I really need to get back down to Columbus. And so transferred back down to Ohio State and started doing landscape architecture and did that for a year. And I'm like, wow, these late night sessions of pulling all-nighters and all the hours that are spent doing that, I don't know if I can do that. And so funny enough, it's like, okay, well, I did golf, I did lawn care. I'm like, they have a turfgrass program. I think that maybe that's why I need to go. And, you reflect back on it and you're like, well, you were saying long hours and all. And I'm like, I just jumped into the same thing, just a different form.
Yep. The things you tell yourself, like, this is going to be, this is it. Yeah. You got to kind of sometimes tell yourself those, I don't know if we call them lies or what you hope, these things to be.
Right. And so, started off in the turfgrass program and really enjoyed it. The people that I was around, and kind of coming a little bit. I started off in the golf course track, so I was going to do golf course superintendent. So I did my internships related to that, and one of the internships I did was at the research center at Ohio State. So I wanted to make it well-rounded, get experience with that, get an experience. Unfortunately, I never went and did internships abroad or anything like that. Something I, could have done that would have been, even better, but. And got to meet Joe Motz and Mark Heinlein at the Motz Group, and they were doing some research at the Ohio State Research Farm, and that's where I initially met those two, and then by chance I just happened to be, after doing a couple years as an assistant at a couple courses, Double Eagle and then the Links at Groveport here, both in the Columbus area. He said, "Why don't you get out of that golf course stuff?" Being nice, he may have used some other language there, and come over to the sports turf side. We got some things going, and I said, okay. He said, we've got some design stuff. We're trying to bring that in house. I need some help with some project management style work, and I said, okay. Well, I've got design background. That sounds interesting. Let's do it. So that's as of February next year. That'll be 20 years since that. And it was here at OTF that I, ran into Mark and said, okay, let's, give it a go. So that's
so cool.
It's really awesome.
So when you look back at the long hours you had and you wanted to shorten those hours, did that accomplishment happen?
Definitely not. But at that point, you're like, okay, I guess this is just life. This is the real world.
Yep.
And just need to adapt to what it is to be a professional, right?
We are naive as young adults.
Yes. Well, I think if you were to ask like a young adult, what's your dream job? A lot of people have a response. But if you ask somebody who's been in the field for 10, 15 years, the dream job is to not have a job.
Yeah, well, yeah. Let's be honest. Yes.
Definitely. But very cool.
Yeah. It's been in really my, I'm going to share it in the award ceremony later this afternoon, but it's come full circle also in the sense that my first time was about 23 years ago attending an OTF conference and show, and it was due to being fortunate enough to receive scholarships. So,
very cool.
And now to be able to then kind of pay it forward and give back with the board work has been extremely rewarding.
And how far along in their journey was the Motz Group when you came on board? Was it still, two guys in a garage type situation, or had they had, some pillars of a company already built, and then this was just something they wanted to, expand into? Kind of paint that picture for us.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thanks for that. It was very much grassroots still to some extent. Joe and Mark had made the shift from being more of a lawn care company to saying there's something here with this sports turf side of things. Yeah. And so started maintaining, this was just prior to me being in there, starting to maintain some high school fields and local colleges in the Cincinnati area. That was kind of their niche at that time. And then the synthetic portion came on board. And prior to that, Joe and Mark were traveling all over the world doing a lot of projects in Australia and Asia and here stateside as well too. But I said, there's this thing that we could do where we can maybe spend a little bit more time at home and spend some with the family and not have to be running around so much. So that was kind of that. But then, we were still in the top floor of a 3-story brick building. So we had a total of, I want to say full-time wise, we were setting at about 7 or 8 employees.
Okay, very cool.
And now we're in the 120s, 130s, just depends on the time of the year. So
wow.
A lot of growth, yeah.
That is so cool. And to be like a part of that, when it was, I think of like the Steve Jobs in the garage, like you really were a part of that core group, and how exciting that is to be along for the journey.
Yep. It's one of those things I'll never forget. I still can look back, and Joe and Mark had their plaques for OTF serving as presidents on the board, and I thought, man, I don't know that that's something I could see, being able to accomplish. So to be now president and do it, I'm like, okay, I guess I was able to.
I love it. Well, you already touched on it a little bit, but how big of an impact, just being a part of industry groups and, advocacy programs like OTF have had an impact on your career, but expand on that a little bit about, not even just that initial foot in the door, but how you've been able to come back to OTF and, these networks and have them help you flourish that career.
For sure. I think it's a little bit unique in the sense that all things in life are a lot about relationships, right? Mm-hmm. So, and it's a small enough industry, and everybody cares about one another, wants to help out. So that's one of those things that just innately just draws anybody in this industry, I think, to what we're doing here. But yeah, it's been rewarding because of the generosity of those that were ahead of me at the Ohio Turfgrass Foundation, and fortunate enough to get those reap those rewards of the scholarships and the efforts that they've done. It was one of those things that was always like, I'm tackling some career things, right? There's a lot going on there. I just don't know that I can tackle it all. But as is the case with a lot of things, you're never really prepared to do anything, whether it be work or family or anything like that. It's like, so it was just one of those, just the people that were involved with OTF at the time. I knew a few of them. I'm like, hey, I want to give back. I want to, because it helped me out so much. And just to your point about networking and making contacts and learning from those individuals. It's one of those you wanted to continue to help give that an opportunity for those coming up in the future.
Definitely.
That's out there. So
definitely. And what are the hopes in that vision board for OTF in the next few years?
Yeah, no, thank you very much. That's you're leading right into where I wanted to go with all of this. I've got you right where I want you. We set out. I've been fortunate enough to be around a lot of great presidents over the time that I've been part of the board as a trustee, and we said, okay, well, there's some things that we need to shore up. Not that anybody's been doing anything, but just, and it was a lot of out of everybody's control. It was COVID didn't help situations, right?
Yeah.
But there was a lot of work that went into that with Andrew Muntz during his time of getting us through that and helping membership deal with just unique situations, right, of not being able to work or do it, getting, this is their livelihood, right, is this. And being around that, and Nick and Gina and Ryan and Darren, Pataski. So anyways, it was one of those things where like, okay, once we get to a place where we're now back in person with the events and didn't have to do, we just did 1 year of a virtual piece, but it was like what really drives is those opportunities to connect in person. So after we got back to that, there was a lot of still new ways of doing things, right? So it was we just needed to revisit, okay, what's going to be most important? Let's shore up. And there was an opportunity with Ohio State to do the Scarlet and Gray initiative that Ryan DeMay had connections with at Ohio State, that they came to him and said, if you guys, we'll do these matching fund pieces. If you guys bring this much, the university will match it, and then we can, in perpetuity, have this Scarlet and Gray scholarship. So that was something that was really great and shored up the scholarships even more. And then
very cool.
We've made efforts to continue to even do independent sponsored scholarships too. So that we felt good about that. We've checked the box as it relates to the student scholarship side of things. The next was, all right, just last year we had this look in the mirror moment where we said, all right, we need to make sure that we're going to be financially sound, make the right moves for the future. And that was in that Bennett management, we were under Bennett management and did a fine job, but at the same time, we couldn't financially continue to sustain that model. And we had to look at each other and say, okay, well, the only way that we can see this being viable long-term is we need to get the board involved. And then let's also bring in an executive director role. So that's what we've been working on and making that transition this year. And it's definitely had its bumps in the road and lessons learned, but that's, I think, I was just talking to Brian Hall this morning, and he said, he goes, this has been, on so many fronts, this has been very valuable because we've had to learn, and now we are more intimately involved and understand a lot more of the inner workings, and we couldn't be as hands off. We had to be very much in the trenches with it all. And so now we can, moving forward, we can get down to the things that are even more meaningful that'll help move the foundation in a positive direction, because we're getting past wait, how did that operate and how did that work? We can get down to making bigger decisions as it relates to the long-term future. So the next step is, and we've kind of done that a little bit with the executive director role with Dr. Carr coming on and filling that position. So the connection between Ohio State's been strengthened even more.
Very cool.
And so we just signed a gift agreement with Ohio State to over the next, from 25 through 29, we're going to have a total of $233,000 $100,000 that's going to go towards a fund that's been established over those years, and that'll go directly towards research and the execution of things as it relates to OTF.
Wonderful.
So that's exciting, and really just everybody's rowing in the direction that is what's most beneficial for the foundation and the turfgrass industry. So it's exciting to see that. And the next will be, we're going to start tackling OTRT, which is the Ohio Turfgrass Research Trust.
Okay.
So that's the arm. It's been setting a little stagnant, and so we're going to push and do a campaign as it relates to having more monies being fed directly into that, and then really move the needle, I think, where we see it going with some sort of additional funding of research and development as it relates to the university side of things. So that's the grand vision.
I love it. And who better, like you said, to have at the forefront of that than Dr. Carr, and, rooted in research and also just a passion for this group and, moving that needle forward.
Most definitely.
Very cool. And just for my organization in my head, what is the difference between OTF and OSFMA?
Okay. Very good. Yes. So OTF is we'll call it the overarching parent, if you will. And then what we have established is, we'll refer to them as councils, I guess. So you've got representatives from the sports turf side of things. So the board is made up of sports turf individuals. It's also made up of lawn care individuals, representatives, and then golf represented as well. The one that's more formalized in that sense is OSFMA.
Okay.
And it was about 3 years ago, I think, was when we made the transition of saying we can reduce some overhead, and we were doing some duplication as it related to things. So that was kind of the foyer into getting, being board managed was like, let's bring them in and let's reduce some of that overhead costs and things associated with OSFMA so that we can, again, start to fill the coffers, if you will, as it relates to OSFMA. But a lot of great things have come from that. Both we get more now that we've got a voice at the table as it relates to OSFMA of the greater overarching piece with the trustees that are connected to OSFMA. It's been a great collaborative effort amongst just lawn care and golf, and then OSFMA individuals.
Very cool. I love it. All good things coming out of that corner of the world. And does this week, at the end of it, what do you envision for yourself? Do you envision a deep sigh, or do you envision, like a whole fire under your butt to keep going? Like, what does this week really symbolize for you?
Yeah, it's a bit, I guess, bittersweet in a sense that put a lot of time and energy into what we've worked on with this transition. So I don't want to go away too soon. So thankfully we always have the immediate past president still involved.
Yeah.
So they don't have to kick me out just yet. I get to go a little bit kicking and screaming. So yeah, it's, but at the same time I look at the individuals that make up the trustees and the executive board and say, well, there's no doubt that it's going to continue to do well. So it's in good hands in that sense. But at the same time, I'm sure I'm going to have my hands in it some way.
Definitely.
If I can. The other thing is that we mentioned the Ohio Turfgrass Research Trust. In somewhat informal terms, it's usually then the past presidents kind of cycle into that as well to be a part of. So I think I'll be involved there, and just like I said, we're going to make a real concerted effort to start bringing in more donations as it relates to that from individuals, both larger donors and then medium-sized donors, and then every little bit counts. So
anyone listening.
That's right. That's right.
And what would you say, looking back at this this side gig, as of sorts, with OTF. What is like one of those huge takeaways that you can apply to, your own professional career or even, just your own life in general?
Mm-hmm. No, that's great. I would say I've tried to use this as an opportunity I've got 2 young boys, 12 and one that's turning 10 here on Thursday. And just give it as an example. They don't get to see it firsthand because you got to stay in school, you got to do all that stuff. But anyways, I try to give them some stories. I've had opportunities to have conversations with them, and Mom and Dad, we've got to work, and then we also do these other things that are fill our cups too, as it relates to giving back and making a difference and feeling good about doing just some of the stuff that's related to your general work. So it's been that's some pieces that I not really intentionally set out to do, but it was as I went along, it's been giving me that opportunity to use those to have a conversation with my boys and say, life is full of opportunities. I get the opportunity to help coach some sports that they're a part of too. So just hopefully they through they see more and learn from your actions, right? Them, especially Dad, and they're not going to listen to what I say. As much as I think there's an opportunity there really isn't. So just those actions, I really hope that comes through. But again, that was not my intent. This was, really taking this on was like, I got to do something to help give back to the foundation and what it's done. It put me in a position to be successful now. So being a part of a larger group and diverse too, I would say that's the other thing of, we all have a commonality though. So it's finding that common thread that we can all work towards. Yeah. So it's
very cool. Well, and I can say my dad was like a devout council member when I was growing up. And to me, it always just meant like on Thursdays, I got to eat dinner in the living room because he wasn't going to be there and for the longest time, that's what it was. Like, that's how it registered in my mind. And I would say probably around like the 10 or 12, it was like, oh, wow, like my dad is like spending a lot of time at this group. Like, what does this group mean? And then it was like, then we would go to, the local football game or, breakfast with Santa or something. And people would be like, oh, thank you for this or thank you for that. Mm-hmm. And it really started to register with me like, oh, he is somebody that cares about like this community. Mm-hmm. And man, does he, like the Garrettsville, Ohio, he's going to put it on the map one day. Someday. One day. But really just being able to like see how, devoted he was to just like it was, once a week, but he was always tinkering away. And, he was a part of the planning commission. So he wanted to make sure everybody had their, building codes and permits and all that stuff. I would be his like literal worst nightmare, my husband and I. but all that to say, I do think they're ripe at that age for it to start to really resonating. Mm-hmm. And I coached my son's soccer team this fall. Wonderful. He's in kindergarten, and it had terrible results. It did not resonate with him the way I wanted it to.
You have grand vision, right?
Yes, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be the coolest mom. Like, he's going to be so proud of me that all the kids think I'm so cool. And he was just so insanely jealous. Like, he was like, why are you talking to them? I was like, wow. Well, buddy, I got to get these kids on the field. Let's go. So maybe we'll revisit that when he's a bit older. I will not be signing up in the near future for sure.
Well, there's opportunities to your point of communicating that. Of what the intent is. So good.
Definitely. But very cool. And I love that became a part of your OTF story as well.
Yeah.
And we have a council member over here, Mr. Christopher Vell.
I am. In my other life.
Mm-hmm. Yes. But these things, these side gigs, as I like to call them, they really do fuel us in a way that when you're going and doing the same job as, 20 plus years, mm-hmm. and it's it can really get dangerous where it's this groupthink situation. If you don't have people within your organization that are fueling themselves in other ways, whether it's, with their community groups or with their family or, with organizations like this, it's like you guys all show up to the same place every day and you could tell each other that you're the best ever because you don't have any, external perspectives coming to the table.
Right.
So it's so important that, I can see a world where a leader in an organization is like, well, I don't want you being the president of some other organization. You're going to be giving your time and energy to somebody else. I need you here focused on this project. But how much you actually bring to the table now, because you have had an experience like this, you get to work with a different group of people with different points of view. And, the smart leader is the one that's like, yeah, I want you getting all the experiences you can and bring them back to us and tell us what you've learned.
Yeah.
So
no, it's great that you identify that. It is. I think it may get lost in some organizations. I've been fortunate enough with the Motz Group that it wasn't even questioned. It was like, I'm thinking about doing this thing. It's like, well, if that's what you want to do,
Yeah.
And not once has it been, you're putting in a lot of time with that. They've been, very much supportive of the efforts, and it's because of Joe and Mark being involved and being past presidents as well. So they understood the importance of it all. So, yeah.
Very cool. Well, what are some words of advice that you could give if you were to run into somebody, attending their first OTF show, in the concourse here, and if you had the opportunity to pull them aside and give them advice, whether it's on how they approach, their time here this week, or just, their outlook on this career, what would that be? What would those words of advice be from you today?
I would say, one, it was interesting because, and this goes back a ways, right? Because of just to your point about the origin story, is I would say keep your options open. Like as far as like what may ultimately make sense. Mine was from a career standpoint, then led to we even then in the turf sector of turf grass it was sports turf that seemed to gravitate to me as well, and truth be told, this is the groundskeeper, and I was like, I've never actually, aside from being on the golf course side, and doing assistant, superintendent work there, it's a little bit of, I'm honored to be on this podcast too, because it's not, there are those practitioners that are out there. I have a lot of respect for those individuals. I love having conversations with them. And, but anyway, so the piece that I would say is, give yourself an opportunity to be open also to one of the messages I'm going to share here at the award ceremony was I challenge individuals to step outside your comfort zone a little bit and give back, and there's plenty of ways to do that. We're as the board is looking to the future, we're saying there's an opportunity to start giving individuals an opportunity to be a part of committees, even if they're not a trustee or an executive board member, so they can get a taste of what it's like and really help support, and even in a small way of just giving some feedback and being a part of some meetings to help share information and help make a difference in the foundation. So I would say it's kind of those things of like, you can do your day to day, but don't be afraid to step out and give back a little bit.
I love it. Great words of advice. And Chris, how many minutes into the podcast are we?
28.
So I guess I should formally introduce my co-host, Chris Bell, onto the podcast because I steamrolled right past that.
It's okay. I'm used to it. Question for you, Ryan.
Yeah, please.
If we have someone listening who's in the landscape business or golf or sports turf, and they might have heard of OTF or not familiar with OTF, what would be your sales pitch, your quick pitch for them to join, and what they would get out of it?
Yeah. I would say that we hit on a lot of sectors. So there may, to your point also, Meg, of if you feel like I'm just not sure about the education side, I don't know that I can make an impact there. It's like we touch a diverse. There's individuals on the board that something may not resonate with them, but there is something else. It's like we have individuals that love being a part of the education committee and helping make make outreaching to individuals to then be speakers and presenters as it relates to some of our events. So we have advocacy that we're doing. So that's kind of along the lines of state house things and helping to move the needle as it relates to legislative pieces.
Very cool.
There's scholarship and there's research. So it's a diverse piece, and then it's also partnerships, and then giving back to our membership in ways that we can do that. So you may think that there's not something that you can, you don't have anything to bring to the table, but there probably is something that makes sense. And so that's where we're at. We're going to continue to see this thing grow with our attendance every year, and the exhibition side of things. It's going to continue to grow from equipment standpoint and products and technology. It's there's an array of options as it relates to what impacts the turfgrass industry.
I love it.
It's good stuff.
Well, thank you very much, sir, for joining us. For your first time, you knocked it out of the park.
Well, this is first time podcast, first time, sitting down with you as well.
Well, and it was a delight to meet you, and I'm sure our paths will cross many times in the near future.
Looking forward to it. Thank you, Meg and Chris. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming.
Take care.